Okay, I have to be kind of quiet because it's a little bit late. I just saw a link, and this is something I've been hearing a lot about, the aliens, colonial marines thing. And I'm about to see the side-by-side comparison of the demo versus what they released. So, it looks like the demo is on this side, and the release is on this side. So if you see me looking at one or the other, that's where they are. Let's give this a shot then. Ooh, nice fire. What? That... Wow, they lost a lot of atmosphere just to tint everything the same color. It's such a cheap effect, by the way. A lot of games do that these days, and it's pretty disappointing. Well, where'd all the effects go? No door? What? Oh, the rain is nice. Yeah, the fog doesn't do much for me at that point, but the rain's kind of cool. You can see more details in the final one, but map. They don't want you to look out. What? No, move that freaking debris out of the way. The demo does look really good in that then. The rain isn't as good, but the atmosphere is a lot better. The water's kind of nice looking though. The rain is more distinct in the final game, but it doesn't splash, it doesn't do anything. Where'd the NPCs go? Are they in the final game? Ooh. This doesn't seem very sophisticated. They're just running at you and hitting you. They're not trying to flank you or anything like that. They're just rawr. The demo looks more real. The final game has kind of cooler lighting, but more realistic, but glowing weapons are horrible. Why is it glowing while it's in your hand? Where's all this? Where's all the action? What? Oh my gosh, that's cool. I want to watch the demo more. I want to play the demo. Fuck sakes. I don't even like FPSs. I want to play the demo. Oh, thank God, iron sight aiming. We need that. Yeah. What? I think I get what was going on with the aliens AI. They want them to be in your face more, so that's what they did in the final game. But that makes them look really stupid. I mean, yeah, they get in your face and they're kind of visceral looking, but that's a dumb thing. I mean, why why are these things so dangerous? Why are they so hard to kill? The queen isn't even looking at him. Oh, now she noticed him. What the fuck did I just watch? that was that was I wasn't quite clear on why everybody was so upset about this game, but now, if that's what you were handed a long time ago, and then they gave you this completely different thing, I can understand being a little confused. I mean, really, what? Okay, a few things. Um, they changed the lighting for the final game. I noticed that right away. I mean, if we're going to be going off of like the demo length, that's what I'm noticing that they changed. They changed the lighting so that there's a lot more strobe effects. There's a lot more stark, bright shadow going on, and that can be kind of cool. Except these scary enemies that you've got are all black. They were a lot harder to see in the demo version. I noticed that for sure. Atmosphere was kind of gone in the final version. That overlook. Why was there wreckage in the way? Why didn't... Okay, it's like, hey, look at this cool drawing in this book. Yeah, you see that? You see all the hard work that we've put into that drawing? Yeah, that's great. Yeah, and somebody's just like, can you move your hand? No, what? Don't you see it? Don't you see all the hard work I put into it? That's what that is. And I know that's what a lot of games these days do, is they want you to notice the graphics, because that's the easiest way to please a person, I mean, that's an easy way to please the most people, I guess. It's like, because, story is very important. But, as they say, you can only make one first impression. And you have to make a really good one. Well, if what you can do is you can impress the people who are interested in the story or who will interpret it in a way that they don't like it, then that can be a really important thing, because, even this is so stupid to say these days when we have such realistic graphics, but even somebody who said, oh, well, story was bullshit, but it was easy on the eyes. I mean, that's something that happens in comics, for me anyways, is that it's like, if I have something that's at least nice to look at, because that's half of the story right there. If it's such a heavily visual media, you do have to have graphics that can meet what you're trying to do. And in action games, that's really important because it's all about, getting into the action. It's not as much about building atmosphere, I wouldn't say, but it is about minimizing the flaws as much as possible and letting you lose yourself in it. And, just realism is a lot easier to work towards than having a really unified style. It's one of the things that's kind of bothering me. Well, it kind of bothers me whenever a studio will change their design team really drastically, is that everything that they try to put in retroactively, like this happened with World of Warcraft, it won't fit quite right. And it'll be like, you look at one item compared to another item, it'll be like, oh, well, this one was from the later expansion. Oh, this one was from the original game, And so that reminds you game items, not just cool items that do this stuff. They're game items. So working towards realism is okay. It's just, oh boy, not letting us see what there was to be impressed with. The rain effects in the old one, in the demo, those were something that I really noticed. And maybe it was just the lighting engine that changed it, or I'm tossing around terms like I know what I'm talking about. Just the way that the lighting was, how it was really stark in the final version, and it was a lot more subtle in the demo. Maybe that went towards, in the demo version, it looks like they were using completely different rain effects. Maybe they were using the same ones and I just couldn't see them as well, But I wouldn't really call that a bad thing, because, yeah, really bright floodlights everywhere, it does give stuff kind of a look of, oh, well, there's a cleanup of some sort going on here, there's a disaster that happened here, that's fine. Oh man, it just really did not work towards the atmosphere, though. It had this, especially that vista of the, I don't know anything about this franchise. I know that it's horror and action, and that's all I know. The vista overlook thing, the thing that you see out in the distance, and the developer says, oh, well, you'll get to explore that eventually. That was really helped by having good fog, the right lighting. It was kind of overly colored. I can't think of the word right now. It had too much of a purple tone to it. It just looked... It didn't necessarily look like another planet. It just looked like somebody had decided, oh, well, this is mysterious, so it's purple. That gets to me a little bit. Like I said, it's something that's been happening a lot it's been happening in movies, it's been happening in comics, it's been happening in games, it's just been all over the place. Just this, I'll talk about World of Warcraft a lot because if you look at many other videos, that's what I play. It reminds me of the redesign of Scalomance. Before, it didn't really have too much of a color palette to it. Well, it did, but it was a lot less obvious because it had a lot more variation. It had a lot more of little details in it. But it was basically various shades of green, shades of black and gray. It did have some purple areas, but they were just kind of like, oh, this is the basement, and it's just barely noticeable. It was purplish, but it still had that green to it. And even then, that gave way to the gray of the stone, and the stone was tinged in green in places, and it was a lot more visually interesting. And then when they remade Scalomance, first of all, they rearranged the layout. Fine, whatever. A lot of people got lost in there. I always had to lead the frickin' groups, and that got really annoying when they wouldn't follow you. But, it's like, you go to the second boss, third boss, and she's this magic using, shadow magic is represented by the color purple. That's fine. That's good. You need to have some sort of really recognizable way of saying, oh, that's what's going on here. This is the sort of feeling that you're supposed to get from it. Yeah, that's fine. Coloring the whole room purple, that was not fine. Going to the place where there are these surgeons who are working on making these awful abominations, and they wear red just like Krestinov the Butcher, and that's fine for them to be referencing that guy. I love that guy. He was a really great boss because he was actually really kind of scary. You knew he was unbalanced, and he hit like a truck sometimes, and it was just, you just didn't know what you were going to expect from him. That was okay. I mean, he was wearing red. That was his thing. Fine. And he had red around him because there was freaking blood everywhere and there was gore left all around. Having those details sitting around on the floor, that's okay. The air suddenly having this red mist in it, that's the thing. It's always mist. It's never the environments that are colored that way. It's always the freaking mist and the lighting. Like, the lighting will turn your character purple. It'll turn everything purple. And it's just like, we already know. I mean, we've got these guys who are wearing red. They've both got meat cleavers in their hands. In both hands. They've got these hideous abominations that you can see them working on. They're doing the working animation next to them. You can tell that they're doing stuff with them. Yeah, that's fine. We don't need the freaking red color all over everything to tell us that, hey, there's blood stuff going on and gross surgery and ugh. We don't we don't need that. Come on. But that just kind of bothers me that they had that going on in the demo, and that's okay to get rid of that for the final version. So that I'm gonna be okay with. It's just there was a lot more depth to that landscape because there wasn't a freaking iron bar sitting in front of it. There wasn't some wreckage piled up so that you couldn't see the damn thing. And especially when they were commenting and seeming so excited about this and saying, yeah, this one place, it's where the atmospheric, pairings went on. And you'll get to see that later. You'll get to see it later. So get excited, And that's the sort of thing that you need, especially in a game like that, where, from the sound of it, it's been just this uphill climb to get through it, because it's got horrible AI, it's got horrible shooting, it's got horrible controls, it's got horrible everything. And it's like, you need that, because that's like the carrot just dangling in front of you, and just being like, you need that to work towards. You need a goal. And that Vista could have given one. And it did look kind of cool. It was just kind of like, oh geez, is that just a skybox, or are we going there? That's kind of cool. So getting rid of that and just forcing you to not see it, and like I could see the player just kind of like going like that, it's kind of like, can I? Couldn't see around it. So the atmosphere suffered, definitely. I noticed that a lot of the colors got changed. everything became very oversaturated. It wasn't just the color toning, it was just things had been. It's like somebody had gone in and just taken the saturation and the contrast and taken both of those sliders and gone like, whew, you know. Um, it's like these horrible posters for this local entertainment business. And it's usually like gospel singers and comedians and stuff like that. Whoever they have doing the posters for those, they have it so that these are people who don't look like they have fake tans. Like, I don't see, like, the stuff around the eyes showing that they've gotten, like, a spray-on tan or whatever. They don't look like that. But they've just been saturated and contrasted so much that they look like that. Like, even if you do have, like, a regular tan person, they've been saturated to the point where they look beet red and just awful. And it looks like that's what happened to the textures in the final version. Like, the map, I mean, you can't tell what the fuck that is. It's a dirty touchscreen thing. You know, it looks like it's freaking broken. It doesn't look like a map. It doesn't look like anything. Maybe they wanted to hide that for later. Okay, fine, that's fair. There was no subtlety left. I mean, I know it's not about subtlety anymore, but it should be. Because looking at the demo version, it had that sort of Star Wars look to it. And what I mean by that is it looked like it had been lived in. It looked like it wasn't brand new. And that's what really vibrant textures will do. They'll make everything look like it's freaking brand new. It hasn't faded at all. It hasn't gotten dirty. It hasn't. It's fine. It's spotless. And even in the places where there is dirt and grime added into the texture, it will still look like it's brand new. Because it's just too vibrant. It doesn't look like it's been faded by the sun or by anything. It hasn't been rubbed off. Like, the color hasn't been rubbed off of it or anything like that. No matter how much rust you pile onto it, it'll still look new. And it's not even a really sensible thing. It's just an automatic sort of, well, that's really vibrant, you know? I mean, it's like you look at that with clothing, you know? Clothing that stays really heavily colored and really bright, it'll stay looking new if it can keep that vibrance to it. If little enough of that comes off in the wash, then, you know, it'll look brand new. And I've seen, like, detergents advertised on that. Same thing going on here. That happens to paint on walls, it happens to printed text, warning labels, it happens to everything. The sort of things that you would see in a colony space thing. You know, like I said, I don't know anything about this freaking franchise. That's an issue. Yeah. Alien AI, okay. I understand that it would seem scarier for something to just suddenly, you know, just suddenly in your face, and, you know, of course you get the knee-jerk response, ah! You know, yeah, okay, whatever. It doesn't make your opponent look terribly intelligent, though. And thereby, it doesn't make them seem all that threatening. Because if they can jump right in your face, and you can mow them right down, then what else can they do? You know? They're not trying to flank you, they're not trying to drag you away or lure you away from everybody else that you're with. They were just running at you and roaring and just... Isn't that... I mean, that's what freaking Doom does. I know from Doom 3, is especially evident in the BFG edition just because you have a flashlight on and you can actually see what's going on. Monster closets, they'll pop out of it, and that's supposed to be the scare, is just the sudden bah, and the knee-jerk ah. With something that's trying to say that the enemies in it are incredibly dangerous and just cunning and just nuke them from orbit, it's the only way. I know a few lines. Man, that just does not accomplish that at all. Let's see. What else? Okay, well, the thing is that in the demo, they did have actually better AI, it looked like. Because even if they weren't focused intently just on you, they were still focused on your guys. They were focused on the people with you who were helping you. And the people who had been well characterized up to that point, And, I was watching this guy just suddenly get dragged off to the side into a vent behind the sentry turret that they had just set up to protect them. And it was just like, oh shit, it's like, these guys know what the fuck they're doing, and in the freaking final version, they set up the sentry turret, and they sit there for a minute, and they eventually go back and go fetch their pet NPCs, So that's a little tone breaking. Is okay, we gotta go deeper into this place, and we gotta complete our mission, whatever the fuck we're doing here. And where'd you guys go? Let's see, I'm trying to think of more art direction gripes. The lighting also does not help with the aliens themselves. These are black, shiny things. I know in the Aliens vs. Predator game, which was 2010, I think, they had this really shiny coat to them, and you could see them in the dark because they were freaking reflective. You just had to look for something wet moving around, and that was it. And they've got the same problem going on with this one. In the demo, the lighting is not as intense. It does not... It still does, but it doesn't put as much light reflecting off of the xenomorphs as the final version does. And that's great. These things can climb on walls, they can climb on ceilings, neither of which I saw them doing in the final version. Even though they were saying oh yeah, look, they're doing it, and they were in the demo version. It was just holy shit, they're doing that. And then in the final version, they're just running at you, but I already went over that. So the fact that they can get on ceilings and get on walls and that they'll grab you from vents and stuff, these are stealthy, quick motherfuckers. You shouldn't be able to see them from a mile away. Kinda kills it, and not in the shooty kind of way. I guess that's all I can really say about this, is that they, for the most part, they killed their own game. I know it's been tossed around between developers, and maybe that was a whole different developers thing, and maybe they just weren't allowed to use that exact same design that they had going on because it was somebody else. I don't know. If it's not, then why? Why would you change all these things? You had something really good going for you. And not just, and I haven't been following this. At all. The only reason that I heard about it is because on Reddit it started popping up, oh my god, Aliens Colonial Marines is so freaking horrible, and Aliens Colonial Marines all day, all over the freaking R gaming. And so what I'm saying is that I'm not just going with rose-tinted glasses here. I'm not just saying, oh, well, it was better before. It was better before. The old one was better. Because that argument just does not hold up for me. It does on some things, but not just because they're older. Not just because, oh, it's the first version, I'm one of those people who says, yeah, the changes made to the original Star Wars trilogies are kind of dumb, but it's kind of his right to do that. I mean, I know what he said about, oh, you shouldn't be able to change art that's become so deeply ingrained in culture, and, whatever, he's a hypocrite. I don't care. So yeah, you have the right to change everything you want. It doesn't mean you should. There are reasons that you do these things. There are reasons that you take a certain direction. You just... trust the people who have a vision for the project. Don't listen to the people who are just saying, Call of Duty's doing this, we need to do it too. Or Gears of War is doing this, we need to do it too. Because those are the people who are only looking at the bottom line. They are not looking at the integrity of the piece. I'm one of those video games as art people. Not even gonna bother with that. But even if it is just some franchise tie-in, you can still do good with it. You can still do a lot of good with it. But it's a decision that you have to make. It's a conscious decision that you have to make, and you have to stick with it. You have to say, no, we're not going to listen to the bean counters on this. We're not going to listen to the guys who are just looking to make the biggest profit. We're not going to do that stuff. We're going to do the project that we think is right. We are going to make it to our vision, and we're really confident in ourselves, and we're not just saying that just because we think we're great. It's because we realize that these people who are saying that it needs to be more like something else, they're not actually interested in what we're making. If they were interested in what we were making, then they would listen to us, and then they would give their own suggestions based on what we're working on, not based on what else is selling. This is what happened with Toy Story, Pixar's first full-length feature film. It was back in kind of the bad days of Disney. It's like Disney didn't have this big fall from grace because everybody wanted to see computer animation. No, it's because they were turning out crap. They were adhering to their own rules too tightly. They just would not give themselves any wiggle room. They were just focused on the distribution and the toys and all that. Pixar wanted to make a movie. They wanted to work with Disney on it. Disney got on board. Disney kept on making these suggestions, saying like, oh, Woody needs to be more humorous. He needs to be more sarcastic. Woody turned out to be really mean, and he just had this really acidic sense of what was right to say. Like he wasn't lovable at all. He was just this cold, angry character. And there were just heaps of other problems. It's covered in the documentary, The Pixar Story. Very good very good watch. I highly suggest it. And it will go into way more detail and much more skillful detail. But what I'm saying is that as soon as they cut out Disney from production, as soon as they said, you know what, you're telling us all these things that we have to do, and it's turning out really badly, so we We're gonna take the risk. We're gonna get rid of you. And they did, and they made a great movie. Way better. You know, it's like, even if you don't like it, you can still admit that it's better because they didn't have some vizier sitting on their shoulder saying, that's not going to make enough money for us. We need some more. We need some more marketable things. Make some more catchphrases. You know, let's make some more of these characters. It doesn't matter what their personality is. Just make some more of them so that we can sell toys. You know, they didn't have that on them, and because they stuck to their guns and they stuck to their vision of what they wanted to do, rather than what was going to sell and what they were being told was going to sell. They got through it, they made a great movie, and it was remembered, and they were very cautious afterwards working with anybody else. Rightly so. And that's why John Lasseter runs that place now. Anyways. But it looks to me that something similar happened with this movie, or with this game. Except they didn't push out the people who were being shit about it. They just didn't work at it enough. They didn't care about it enough to stick with the stuff that was working. They didn't know enough about what was working. And so they got rid of it carelessly. You know, it's just like they just decided it needed to look more like the other modern games. Why? You know, why not be your own thing? Why not make this great thing that you think everybody is going to enjoy because it's not like anything else? Because it's got its own soul, it's got its own... Listen to me ranting about some franchise, oh god. But it's got its own strengths. It admittedly has its own weaknesses, but those are so overshadowed by how great it can be. You know, make that. You know, don't just make, this is selling right now, let's make something like that. No, because that's just, that's everything that's wrong with a lot of the media these days. And granted, yes, there are fun, stupid games that you can play, and there's fun, stupid movies that you can play. Like the goddamn Transformers series or disaster movies, you know, it's just like, I'm not going there because I'm interested in what, he's such a thrilling character that I can't even remember his name. Shia LaBeouf's character in Transformers. I'm not going there because I care about his relationship with his parents or anything like that. And Michael Bay knows that. You know, somebody asked him what he thought of criticism of his films, and he said, "Oh, I make movies for teenage boys. What a crime." You know, he knows. He's in on this. And he's being cool about it. So I guess what I'm saying is, be like Pixar and Michael Bay. What? Anyways, stick to what you actually want to do, not just what's selling. Come on.